right, what's going on, nerds and blerds? It's your boy Nerd Solo, and we're back with another Blerd Check. And as you guys know, Blerd Check, we do our due diligence in keeping up with the community, and keep letting you guys know what we're up to, and try to see what everybody in the community has been up to, whether it's convention-wise or, whether we have a guest like we do today. And today's guest is none other than Gary Peebles of Stunt POC. Gary, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Not bad. Just sorry, I am a little. I don't know why my computer's all backwards. But regardless of that, good, man. I see. Also, you guys follow him at GFORCESTUNTS, right, on Instagram?
GFORCESTUNTS, yes, sir. GFORCESTUNTS.
Awesome. Well, Gary, welcome to Blerd Check. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you first got into stunt work?
Oh, man, yeah. I'm Gary. I am 42. I live in Atlanta. I'm originally from DC. Been doing martial arts for about 39 years. I started when I was 3. Yeah, and I originally wanted to be a fighter pilot. I mean, I play football and everything, probably, yeah. But I mean, I wanted to be a fighter pilot, and when I was in college, they told me that I was too big. They were like, yeah, so you have a sitting height and a sitting width or whatever, and they were like, man, you ain't gonna fit. And I was just like, I spent my whole life wanting to do
I
this.
really thought that's crazy. So like, not to cut off your story, but that's crazy because you grow up. A lot of times it's like you're too small to do this, or something like that, or you're too short to do this. And then the one thing where you can be too big to do it, they don't let you know in the front end. Like,
no,
hey,
no. I was like right there, getting ready to sign on the dotted line for ROTC. They was like, "You want to do what?"
Because the one thing you do hear about that is like eyesight. You have to have good eyesight.
Yeah.
Let me
I
tell you
had good
about.
eyesight. I had the scores and everything. It was like, "Are you serious? Are you kidding?" I was like, "No, I want to be." They're like, "No, dude, there's no way." And I was in like football shape then. I was like, "I want to be in a fighter jet." They were like, "No way, no way." No way. But yeah, so in that moment, after having my soul crushed, I actually found out about, stunts like later on that day, or not necessarily found out about stunts later on that day, but found out about, the theater department, which is a University of Maryland and Clary Smith Performing Arts Center, and found out later on about stage combat and what that meant for acting in theater and whatnot. And then from that professor learned about stunts and possibly a career in doing that. And just from figuring out a little bit about what it was that he had to offer with the knowledge that he had at that point, I became like super obsessed with the idea, like absolutely obsessed with the idea. And that was in 2005. And then I slowly but surely started actively pursuing it, just trying to figure out different avenues of trying to do that, especially from the East Coast. And that was almost unheard of from 2005. So it has been a journey for sure, especially doing from the East Coast. But I mean, made it.
Yeah. Now that's also interesting that it kind of like you fell into stunt work, being a stuntman, because I did talk about this on my most recent podcast where we interviewed Joshua Bullock of Monarch Comics. Until I got into this space, I never actually like was honest with everybody, like when they ask you what you want to do when you grow up. When I was young, I wanted to be a stuntman or like
Oh,
yeah, like something crazy like that. Like I love watching old school foreign martial art films. I watched Jackie Chan when he was a young kid. Like I watched
oh
all
yeah.
his old original films and all that stuff. So I was all in on like stunting. I watched wrestling all the time. I was like, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
want to
definitely.
really be
Oh,
a
WWF
wrestler.
before it was
Yeah, the
WWE.
old
Yeah,
WWF, WCW, all that stuff,
Scott
NWO.
Blackman.
Yeah, Rob Van Dam was my guy.
Yo, that dude.
Anybody that could do like flips and stuff, that was
You.
what I wanted to do. So that's so funny, you had this goal and then you were like, I'm kind of prepared to be a stuntman.
I mean, well, and that's generally what he said. He was just like, he's like, you have this ability, and you also have, all of this training all already. So it's like, but the thing is, it's like in stunts, you can have these, abilities, talents, and everything like that. But I was talking to one coordinator not too long ago. Well, it's been 4 years now, but he was just like, when you're doing stuff, he's like, you can't just be good at something. He's like, you have to be world class at whatever it is you can offer the stunt community. And I was like, not world class at what it is that I do. I'm like, am I that good? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, no, we, martial artists and everything, like you compete in tournaments and you compete on the circuits and everything like that. You do all these big tournaments, especially in DC, you do the Capital Classics and all that other stuff. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, in that moment, I was like, am I world class? Like, am I that? But then I had to think to myself, I'm like, is there however many big dudes like myself in stunts that do what it is that I do? And there's a very small number. And I still think that even amongst the bigger dudes, I'm still unique in what it is that I do.
And that
So
was that was kind of like your your advantage,
it
having
is.
such a
It is.
small
It
percentage
is.
of bigger guys that are as athletic and flexible. Because that was the first thing that caught my eye with you. I was like, this dude's mad flexible. Like you reminded me of one of my buddies from high school. He's a big guy, big guys in high school, they're usually like tight ends. Like he was almost as fast as me, and I was like really fast, a
Mhm.
sprinter in track and field and things like that. And he was almost as fast as me, and he's a big guy. I was like, I
Yeah.
haven't seen anybody move like that
Yeah. It's like,
since Orlando.
it's like trains chasing Corvettes. It's like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, man, that was the thing that I feel like I had to offer, and it it of course comes back down to the martial arts training. We had, and this was like the martial arts training like back in the '80s, early '90s into the 2000s. You like parents might consider that abuse now, but
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
to us it was
I was gonna ask you what kind of martial arts did you
it
specialize
was
in?
kung fu,
Kung
kung
Fu?
fu,
Okay, because
Chinatown, DC. Yeah.
that's another thing. I was big into martial arts as well. I did martial arts when I before I went to move with my dad in upstate New York when I got to ninth grade. So I was in martial arts from like fifth or fourth grade up to ninth grade, and I
Oh,
did
that's
kung fu as well. So
nice.
I did know a bit of things like that. That's why I was interested, and so that was like your. Other than being athletic, which it comes from martial arts, but the martial arts was like your bread and butter. Other than,
It is. It really is. It is definitely the base for everything it is that I do. It's more than just, oh, I do this, I do. It is definitely, it's 100% a lifestyle
yeah,
for sure.
did you have
Yeah.
any aspirations of martial arts outside of, you had, I know you had this goal of being in,
Mhm.
like up in the air, but did
Mhm.
you have like, did you ever think like martial arts might be a backup or was that just
No,
like, I'm just
It
a
was,
martial artist. This is just who I am.
it was like I saw a Chinese New Year's parade when I was a kid, and I knew that I wanted to do that. Like I saw a Chinese New Year's parade before I ever saw like a martial arts movie, or at least a martial arts movie that I can remember.
Wow.
And so it was like in DC when they had just put up like this friendship pagoda in Chinatown, and there was a New Year's parade going through there. Or at least that's what I thought it would mean. That's generally what it is.
Yeah.
But dancing and dudes doing all the forms and whatnot, swords and drums and lion and dragon dancing. And I was just like, I want to do that, in my little 3-year-old voice. And my dad was like, no, no, you don't. And I was like, yes, I do.
Yep, yep.
And I just kept hounding him about it, and hounding him about it, and hounding him about it until finally he took me there. And then he left, and I was like, I want to go home. He was like, no, 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 you got to stay there. And then that was, however many years later.
Nice.
So,
So,
yeah, man.
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, it was just, it's different for a larger dude doing a style that's meant for smaller people. It's different than karate. It's different than like taekwondo, because those can be adapted to larger people. But kung fu
Yeah,
is like one of those styles that has like a very specific group. I mean, of course, you see Sammo Hung and
yeah.
you see Bolo Young and how those dudes transcend to have big like things
They
for,
yeah,
for bigger gin. Yeah, but
they
like,
can use their size to their
yeah,
advantage, but kung fu's not rooted in
it's
strength.
not. It's not. Well, in Bolo was like Southern style, like hard Southern style, and that's the style that's rooted toward bigger people. But I was doing a Northern style for sure,
Yeah.
so everything was like long and flexible and everything like that. And my teacher had to spend a lot more time with me, much to my dismay, because I'm like, my teacher hates me, so I'm not gonna, so I'm not gonna quit, but he hates me. And then later on he was just like, I knew your body was going to get bigger, because eventually Chinese American kids, they stop growing at a certain point. You just keep growing. You're like, oh, this is why I had to stay longer in class so you could
Yeah.
beat me and I could. Yeah, so I mean, but it
You
was
saw
worth it, which I
it.
knew ahead of time.
Now, what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced breaking into the stunting industry?
So the biggest challenge it is just getting in. Um, and finding out. So it's like you have to work on SAG Productions to get SAG, uh to get into the union.
Yeah.
But to get into the union, you have to work on a SAG production. And it's just like, how do you do one without the other? Well, how do you do the other without the one? It was like, aha, good luck figuring that out. So it's pretty much, you have to go through the steps, and the steps are always different for everybody else. But as soon as you put those things in motion in your life, they just kind of like open all these different doors. And so the door that opened for me was, ended up going to like a round robin sparring session. And there I met a guy who did stunt work at Six Flags in Largo, Maryland, at the stunt show there, because they were the only Six Flags that had a stunt show. And then I went and applied for that. 2013, I did the live show. And then from the live show, ended up meeting a coordinator who lived in my city, who was working on a film that they needed to do a trailer for to raise money. It was going to be an indie film. And with that indie film, they raised, I think, like $1 million to do the film. It was going to be a modified low budget. And so that guy was like, I'm going to hire my guys that I've been training, and to be in the film, and I'm going to give them their SAG day, so they could pay us one SAG day, and that's all you need is a day to get into
Yeah.
the union. And that's pretty much how it happened. And they ended up making me the main villain, which was a vampire clown called Blimpo. But from that show, I ended up working with James Remar, who's actually Raiden in Mortal Kombat 2 Annihilation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice, nice.
So that was like my first film. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but I actually talked to him about that while we were there, and I was like, "You were Raiden." He was like, "Yep, Lord Raiden." I was like, oh, "This is not something you like." Okay.
Nice, nice. So outside of anything outside of trying to break into the industry, any other challenges or anything you may have faced?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's always been challenges, and so the biggest challenge is always going to be the size. Like, the size isn't so. It's not like the '90s or the early '80s where everybody was like jacked, and the more jacked you
Yeah,
were, the
it's
more work
like
you got.
the big
It's
guys
not.
getting the role.
It's not like that anymore. Like the days of the Arnold Schwarzeneggers and bigger dudes doing a lot of stuff, and that being your bread and butter to get into the industry, that was over like your Mateus Hughes and all those dudes like
Mm.
that. The you and from that, they tend to think, or coordinators or people that you work with tend to think that you're slow, you can't do certain things, you're stiff, and you eventually end up having to prove yourself a lot.
Yeah.
So, when I was first coming into it and getting into the first, I don't want to say the first real job, but the first major budgeted job I did was Jessica Jones.
Okay.
And I didn't know it was Jessica Jones until I got there. Like, I had no idea what Jessica Jones was. Um, well, I didn't know they were making the show. I knew who Jessica Jones was.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm like,
oh,
but use my nerd
one
card right
second.
here, right
Sorry.
now.
Hey, sorry to cut you off. I got
Yeah.
a dog begging to get inside the big
Oh,
room.
no
Give me
problem.
a second.
Oh, go sit.
Got this big girl. She's getting old and sassy. But yeah,
I do.
so you were saying you were getting your first major role was or
Oh,
big
yeah, I was
production
doubling
Jessica
doubling
Jones.
actor Richard Brevard, and it was in New York, and a guy from New York who was kind of showing us the ropes. Um, he called me and was like, "Hey, man, opportunity is knocking, and you need to answer." And I'm like, "I don't know what that means, man. Like, you got to tell me something." He's like, "They're looking for somebody in New York to double this guy, and they need somebody big, and they need him to be able to fight." And I was just like, "Well, I can do that."
Check, check.
So I called the coordinator, and I was like, "Hey, I'm available." He's like, "Are you SAG?" I was like, "I'm SAG eligible." And he was like, "All right." He's like, "We might need to cut your hair." He's like, "Wait, how'd you hear about this?" He's like, "Because this was in the New York group." I was like, "Somebody told me about it." And he was like, "Well," he said, "if you can get up here, we can get you together. We can get you to work." He's like, "But we can't pay for your way up here, and you'll have to work local." He said, "We can't put you up." He said, but I was like, "I'll find a way up there." So I got on the mega bus, got on the mega, got on the mega bus, headed to New York.
Uh-oh. I think I might have lost you.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, cool.
So you got on the mega bus.
Yep, got on the mega bus. Uh, yep, got on the mega bus, headed there, did a practice, and doubled the guy. But I got there to the production office, and I'm looking at all these pictures, and I'm like, what I was like, I saw Carrie Ann Moss, Kristen Ritter, Mike Coulter, and I was just like, oh God. And I saw Marvel posters everywhere. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I didn't know what to think. I was just like, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to mess this up at all. But it ended up being a very pivotal point, like for my career, because and that's something to say, is that my first like major budgeted thing was a Marvel production, and that generally never happens, but
Yeah.
it was to my advantage that I was a larger person, because this dude was just like a straight bodybuilder. Like, he was just, and he needed to be able to do this fight.
Yeah.
And I was the only one that could do it. And the guy that usually gets hired to be the big dude that can fight was already there. So he couldn't double somebody. So I was like, all right, I'm ready for it. And so they hired me. I got some pads for him, for my actor. And then the one day that he was going to do one of his own stunts, I knew already from advice from a prior stunt performer. They were like, hey, when you get a chance, put your pads on your actor beforehand. And so I did. Went to him at lunch, put some pads on him, like, you're getting ready to go and do your stunt. I'll be right there. I said, if there's anything that you don't feel comfortable with, I'm here. We'll let the boss know. I'll step in for you. No problem. He was like, all right, cool. So I put some knee pads on him, put some elbow pads on him, put a back pad on him, and he was good. And the boss was like, hey, he's getting ready to go up. You might want to offer some pads. I was like, I put pads on him already at lunch. And he was just like, what? I was like, yeah. He's already padded up. He's ready to go. He's like, who taught you that? And I was just like,
a little tricks of the trade.
But yeah, that turned into more work.
Yeah.
That turned into more opportunity. That turned into, hey, he was like, hey, what are you doing Thursday? I was like, doing anything Thursday. He was like, we're bringing you back Thursday. So the thing that was supposed to turn into one day turned into 5 days. So it was very lucrative. Great.
That's really cool. Take initiative, kids. Don't cut corners.
Mm-hmm.
You're at a new place. Look around. Try to do a little extra. Try to impress. I hear stories about people in like major podcast industries where like they got into their role of being a producer on a big podcast because they would just hang around their events and help wrap up wire at the end. Like that was it. That was it. Like, who are you? It was like, I just love your show. Like, so like things like that.
Somebody's there is like to help, and it was like, oh, you're cool.
If you have the know-how and the skills, just do a little something, small things. Yeah. It's the small things sometimes that counts, especially if you have the credentials or credential eligible.
And I didn't even have them. I didn't have them then.
Yeah, that's what I added.
I was
that
able
little
to get more. 100% able to get more. It was great.
Another interesting thing about your career so far in this interview that we've been doing is the roller coaster of your size playing a major role in it. I guess, it's obvious because that's who you are, part of who you are. You're not, whether if you're really short or if you're really tall, it is a part of your story at some point. And yours, it's like you had a bunch of advantages that just pop up from it. A lot. You also had to do a little bit of have a little bit of work ethic, involved to spruce it up. But couldn't be a fighter pilot. No. And they were like, you have martial arts and you're big. You're kind of perfect for what we want to do.
Yeah.
And then you get into that industry, and it's like, you're perceived as the big guy and slow in things. And then you have to prove yourself that you're not. And then you're in this like small percentage of big guys, so you're getting more work because you are, and now the story. It's really a good one if people haven't been paying attention. Like it's.
I've had coordinators throw my resume away because they thought that I was lying about what it is that I said that I could do on my resume. Like that's how.
Like I've seen this before.
Yeah,
budgeting the resume. Let's throw this one out.
And that's literally. But the thing is, so later on, once they actually saw that it wasn't a joke, they were just like, "Yeah, I thought they was, it was like I looked at your resume and said, there's no way that size doing that. There's no way."
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few of them that were like, "Oh, we missed out."
yeah, and admittedly so, they came to me and be like, we made a mistake. It was like, but there's been people that have lied to them about what it is that they can do before, which is why it did not seem plausible.
Yeah, they get them in the reason for the throw out. They get them in the room. They're wasting somebody's spot and time.
Yep.
Because they fudged the resume and now they're put on the spot to do the skill that they're not equipped to do.
And that is not okay. Like when you get on set, you're supposed to be able to do what it is that you say that you could do, because what's happening is that the coordinator is now depending on you to deliver for the director, for the production. You make him look bad also, or her look bad also. And it's a real big thing. Like and also depending on the severity of the stunt, like we put our lives on the line.
Yeah, people can get hurt.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're saying that you can do something that you can't do, and then you get there the day and you can't do something and it costs somebody life limb, that's bad. That is bad.
That's
It's way bad. It's happened
I'd
before.
imagine worst case scenario right there.
Mhm.
It's like, I mean, hurting yourself is one thing, you know, because I'm sure you signed a waiver and
Mhm.
things like that. But you're putting somebody else in, you're costing them money if they get hurt.
100%. But they'll replace you by the end of the day.
And then that'll, you know, that'll probably put a stain on your
Oh yeah,
name for a while.
yeah. You won't work. You won't work again unless you like switch countries or something like that. You'll get known for sure for being the person that lied on their resume.
Okay, so out of all the projects that you've worked on, do you have a favorite stunt or moment that stands out to you?
Oh man. Hmm. I'd say the most challenging, but still the most fun. Okay, I'll say the most fun was the Christmas special. Guardians Christmas special was probably the most fun. Guardians Christmas special was definitely the most fun. But the when I had the most fun that I've had was definitely Guardians 3 because I learned a lot. It commanded a lot of me, but after seeing the final product, man, I was just like, yeah, yeah, I did that. I mean, Infinity War was great. That was fun. In-game was great. That was fun. But Guardians 3 was definitely the one where I was just like where I had to like step myself up
Yeah.
because it was moving so fast, so fast. Like you had to get a lot fast, and I wasn't even supposed to be on that for as long as I was, and it ended up working out really good to my advantage, and that was just another thing where I had the size and I had the skill and I had to prove myself again to a different director, to different coordinators, and for the same character.
Yeah.
So
Which has to be very cool to be a double for, you know, a pretty prominent character. I would say, you know, it's a huge character in our household because Guardians of the Galaxy is like one of our family movies. Like we've seen them all together. We have we have four animals. Um,
mhm,
two of them have anime names, Sanji and Nami, the two dogs,
mhm.
and the two cats, brother and sister, named Rocket and Groot. So,
Wait, you
yeah.
didn't name one of them? You didn't name one Drax the Destroyer? Come on, man. Come
I
on.
I mean after seeing my after I probably should have named my dog. He's a Beagle Pit Bull mix. Should have
Mhm.
named him Drax the Destroyer because he's 40 pounds of just pure
Oh
energy
yeah. Oh yeah.
and
He's perfect.
just and then like once he gets in trouble, he tries to be invisible. He, just, he tries
My
tail
movements
just
are so
stands up.
slow.
That's
That's
exactly what he
awesome.
does. So
You
what
don't see me.
do you have a can you recall uh the most hardest or grueling stunt or day on a set? Either
Um,
either
I will say that for the training, the initial training for Drax, was an interesting journey because I was going to be the secondary double for Infinity War for Drax, and then they cut the secondary doubles 3 weeks into pre-visualization, which we build all the fights and show the director. So if they send out fake scripts and whatnot, stunt department can't get fake scripts because we can't make fake stunts for the movie.
yeah.
so so it's like, I mean, and it's been however many years, like it's been almost 10 years since we started production on Infinity War, so all this stuff's out there already.
Yeah.
So but I didn't know if there was going to be a chance that I could be brought back because they came to me and told me, it's like, hey, today is going to be your last day doing this part. And I was like, okay, I must suck. And he's like, no, it's not that you suck. It was just that this is somebody else's gig. This is the contracted doubles gig first, and I was like, okay. So I was like, And he was like, but if we need you, we'll call you. We know where you're at. I was like, okay, cool. So I trained and 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 trained. I ended up doing Pitch Perfect 3 in the middle of that, but I was still training for Infinity War. So
that's a crazy contrast of like
you're right. Pitch Perfect 3 was really, really fun. I mean, it was. It was. I'm going to say that that was a really fun movie to
I
be on.
imagine.
But going from there up until September. So one of the assistant coordinators came to my house with two of my roommates, and so I just asked them. I was just like, "Hey, man, what are the chances of me being able to do one of the scenes that's coming up for Drex?" And he was just like, "Man, I don't know." He said it's maybe like a 5% chance, and I took that 5% and was like, "You didn't say zero."
Yeah, I gotta be ready. So
Yeah, I got to be ready. So I continued training. I continued listening to all the Avengers music, Avengers 1, the scores. I started listening everything. I was doing Marvel fucking everything. Like I was just listening to just putting it in my head. I listened to the first score from Guardians 1. I listened to Ballad of the Nova Corps over and over and over again every time I went to the gym in the morning, you know, and it came around, I would say September 17th. I got a call from the stunt assistant, and he was like, "Hey man, what's your availability this day?" And I think it was like for one day, and I was like, "I'm available for what's it for?" You know. And generally, when they want to call you, because before that, I was already working on it, but we were doing the scenes in Wakanda
hmm
with Black Panther, with the Outriders and everything like that,
Yeah.
when the dome and everything like that. So if anybody ever wants to know, Wakanda is in Fairburn, Georgia. So, but
Nice.
yeah. So but coming back around to when he called me, I was like, yeah, I'm available. I'm available. Like what? Like he wouldn't tell me what it's for, and he didn't tell me what it's for a specific reason because he didn't want me to get my hopes up. Great guy, and I appreciate that, but I was sitting on pins and needles, and so he called me back and he was like, "Hey, look, they're changing the dates, so if they, we don't know if they're going to need you or not because the dates change." And I was just like, and so I was like, are they going to use the other guy? Or are they going to use me? He's like, that's what I'm trying to find out right now. I was like, okay, so I would say maybe like a day later, he was like, be here 5:30 a.m. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And so I get there at 3:30 a.m. because I cannot sleep.
He said,
Cannot
might as
sleep.
well leave now.
I cannot sleep. So I get there 3:30 in the morning. Base camp isn't set up yet. Nobody's there. And so they start opening up the trailers at like 4:45. I get into mine at 5 o'clock. 5:30 rolls around. It was like they're ready for you in makeup. I get to makeup, and because I'm getting ready to get in makeup, I have on shorts, socks, flip flops. No shirt. I get in there. There's 5 or 6 makeup artists. And they're just like, all right, so you have to stand up to get it all put on. And it was like, and so I remember Brian is the lead makeup artist, and he was like, so you want this? I was like, more than anything. And so they start painting me down, gray paint. They're spray airbrushing me and like doing little things with the brushes, and then they're putting gloves on and getting the transfers, and so they're pulling them off the sheet and they're wetting them, putting them on my body, and then peeling it off, and I'm watching myself become a superhero. It was one of the coolest experiences ever. Like I'm just watching them just put superhero on my body,
Just
and as they
slowly
close my eyes,
transforming.
yeah, slowly transforming. They put the thing on my chest, and I was just like, oh my God, this is happening. And so I get to my trailer, and I finally see myself just by myself. And I'm like, I got to hang my head over this chair because I'm gonna cry my eyes out. And I did. I didn't want to mess up the
You
makeup.
gotta let them
So
fall.
yeah. And so
I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no,
that's
no,
another aspect I really hadn't thought about, where, you know, everyone thinks about and hears stories about the actors themselves that get
mhm,
started as, gets
mhm,
hired as the roles of these superheroes. There's also a whole nother group of people that are also
mhm.
getting hired to play these superheroes as
Yep.
well, which is also equally as mind-blowing to them as well. Because you're, like you say, you're just like, oh my God, I'm becoming Drax.
Yeah. And it was like it and I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah,
I
and that's
wasn't like I
another
wasn't
double
supposed to.
whammy.
Yeah. And the thing is that even though I had just put on the makeup, I didn't have the job yet.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That is
I
right.
didn't have I didn't have the job yet because I get there and they at the I'm standing there in makeup all day from 5:30 until about 5:30 in the evening, and they're like, we want to do a camera test, and I was like, what? They were like, we want to make sure that you look like Dave and that you can move the way we want you to move before we try to put you on camera tomorrow. And I was like, oh, and they were like, yeah. I was like, and
So
so
you're
Sam
saying
So yeah, and so Sam Hargrave was the stunt coordinator and second unit director for Infinity War, but he was also Chris Evans' first double for Captain America. So
yeah.
he has a very insane knowledge of everything that's supposed to be going on with all these other heroes.
Just come on, take me
So
under your wing.
yeah, so when I get there and they're like, we want to do a camera test and whatnot. I was like, okay. So this is the first time I'd already done a fitting where I put Drax's pants on, 10 months ago earlier when they thought that I was going to be his second double. And now I'm putting these pants on again for the second time ever. And so now I'm complete. I have the belt on, I have the boots, and so the props guy, and so it was like, yeah, so we're just going to give you some camera direction. We're going to have you do this. And then we want you to just start attacking, just like you're attacking people that are in the spaceship with you. And you're doing all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, cool. And so I'd taken offense to this in my brain. I was like, these people have no idea what I've done for almost the last year to get to this point.
You have no idea how ready I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah, you have no idea. And so the props guy, he's got Drax's knives in his hands, and I don't know, I don't see him because I'm concentrating on what it is that I'm getting ready to do. And so he takes the knives, and the boots have holsters for the knives, and he slides them in my boots, and he just like tells me right here on my right side, he was like, "You're ready," and he had no idea the kind of activation words that he just said to me in that moment. He's just the props guy.
It was the sleeper cell code, like Bucky.
100%. 100% sleeper cell code. So make a long story short, I went in there and I did my thing, and Ed, who was one of the AD, was just like, hey man, we'll see you in the morning. I was like, cool. And I walked off set, Michael Bay exposed and everything. Came back the
Amazing.
next morning and met Benedict Cumberbatch.
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
that's a hell of a 48 hours for you.
100%. 100%.
Um, I wanted to take a quick break real quick.
Sure.
Use bathroom. I hear my son running around outside, even though
Okay,
he
no
should
problem.
be in the bed. So I'm gonna see what that's
Oh yeah,
about.
no problem, no
And then
problem.
we'll pick up where we left off. We'll talk more about becoming part of Stunt POC, and then
Okay, cool.
Stunt POC becoming a part of Blerd Station.
Sounds good, my man.
All right, Blerd, stay
All
tuned. We'll be right back.
right.